Hi guys, so I have just managed to breed out our breeding pair of Rexes that we're going to be using to sort of like just pump out loads of really good Rexes. Well, I say really good. Level 268, so that's what, 43 levels above the max possible tame you could get. That's fairly good, I think. I think we could probably get higher, but we just haven't managed to find anything yet. Okay, so this Rex originally had 9,900.1 health. It has been imprinted 9%. Stamina is what you see here. Oxygen is what you see here. Food is what you see here. Weight and melee. They'll probably go up as I imprint it more. I can't remember what stats exactly it is, but some of the stats don't actually go up when you imprint. So yeah, that's a nice Rex. And once we've got that one done, we've got another Rex that has got the max stats that we want for battle. And we will be using that to obviously breed out lots and lots of Rexes. So what I want to do in this video is I want to show you both on the PC and if you're using a controller, ways to sort of breed them efficiently. And then I'm going to show you the way we keep track of our stats. Now, I do warn you, it's going to be looking at spreadsheets. It's not going to be particularly glorious, shall we say. Right, so let me go out here and show you. So we've got two creatures here. Now these ones here are ones that either had maximum stats on something we wanted, or have the best stats on something we wanted, or they have colours that we like. So these two, obviously, they're quite pretty Rexes. So when it comes to doing it on the PC, you don't need a breeding pen. All you need to do is you set them to follow you. Make sure you've got this follow distance not set to low. It's fine if it's set to low. And for some reason I'm picking up stuff. If it's not set to low, that's fine, but medium's probably better. Otherwise, if you step back a little bit, they will follow you and it will mess it up. So I'm just going to make sure these are both on medium. Yes, they are. Okay. Right, so now I've got them set to follow. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go behavior, wandering, behavior, enable wandering. And now all it is a case of smacking the U button. And you can just basically hold them here and do this the whole time. You just need to keep pressing that U button over and over as fast as you can. Just keep doing this stop all whistle. Now you might also find that this happens where the mating says, well, has stopped, but as long as you keep doing it, they will go through that eventually and it will come back up. Even if it stops, say near the end, and you know it should do the egg by that point, what essentially is going on there is you've got a sort of desync from the server. As long as you just keep doing the U whistling, they will eventually lay the egg. So now these guys I've got at the moment I don't actually want to breed these guys out. So what I'm going to do is so at the end of the breeding, what you'd do is once they drop the egg, you would just go as quick as possible, T and then T whistle. Right, there we go. Now you take off the wandering. So disable wandering and behavior, disable wandering. Right, okay, and at that point it'd be safe to move, pick up the egg and do what you're going to do with it. When it comes to controllers, obviously I know it's not easy to actually press do the stop all button often, so what you do need to do is make a pen, and I'm going to go ahead and go and do that now. Okay, so the easiest way to make a breeding pen, in my opinion, is to use fence foundations, railings, and behemoth gates. For big creatures. For smaller creatures, you can use a smaller gateway, obviously. The reason I would say use the fence foundations is you're not then limited to a space that you can put down foundations. Now, it does mean you can't put a ceiling on top of it, but I mean, if you're going to be doing a breeding pen, you kind of don't really want to be leaving stuff out there anyway. So I'd imagine you'd put it somewhere that's quite safe. Now, the reason I like using railings is just so I can see exactly what's going on. I can look through it at any point and see it, but I'm going to be using stone railings just to make sure. So to start this off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it say, okay, I want the behemoth gate kind of orientated in this way. So I'm just going to put out 8 of these to start off with. So let's put out 8 of these fence foundations. Right, okay, so I've got those 8 fence foundations out. You'll notice that the Rex has moved size because something attacked me while I was down here. So what I've got my gun out here so you can actually see what I'm doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to aim at the fence foundations. I'm going to aim here. I'm just going to move backwards and forwards a bit, and it will eventually snap into a forwards facing rotation. There we go. So there we go. I had to sort of move a little bit forwards and I had to aim forwards like that. So that is now in the center, I believe. Now I need to press E so I'm looking at the blue bit from the back. That way I know it's generally going to open outwards like that. There we go. So dinosaur gateway. And I'm going to throw this on here as well. Now I will say this is I'm going to be building this just for 2 Rexes at the moment. So this is going to be kind of a big build to do this. Ideally, what you'd probably do is have like more gateways in there so you could get more through. But the thing is, you can't get Rexes like the full distance between these, or the full. Open up the right way, you buggers. Okay, I was having trouble doing that. So like the Rex can't kind of really get beyond this fence foundation here, and this fence foundation here. So I've really only got 1, 2, 3, 4 fence foundations to play with. Now, I know a Rex can't get through a 1x1. So I'm going to build this as if I've not done this before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my 2 fence foundations here. And I'm just going to put one like that there. And take that out one more. And what I'm doing, the reason I'm doing this here is I'm testing to see what space the Rex can fit into. So like I said, I mean, I know what space it can fit into. But this is kind of the process you'd go by for building your first pen. So there we go. I've built a 2 wide space there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take each of these. So obviously each one of these is half a wall. I'm going to take them up 5. I have to spawn off one of them in. So I'm going to take these up 5 because that just means that's like 2.5 wall heights there. The Rex shouldn't be able to walk over that. Right, there we go. Railing's done. Now let's take this Rex through there and make sure it can't get out of there. Yep, it can get through there, no problem. Cool. Yep, there we go. As you can see, there's no way that's getting through a 1x1 gap. So we now know that a 2 wide gap is, that's fairly snug for the Rex. Now you need to figure out what sort of length you need to go to, because what you want for these Rexes is you want them to not potentially be moving out of mating range. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 more fence foundations out, and then I'm going to cut it off, and it shouldn't be able to move too much then once I close the door. Right guys, so there we go. What I've done is I've taken them out 2. I've just put 1 across there. That's just so I can have easy access to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this all in. Right, there we go. They're all 5 high. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Rex around. As you can see, this Rex cannot get out of there. That's brilliant. Okay. Now I need to check to see how much room it's got to move. So if I close this door now. See, that can still move around a fair bit. I reckon I could probably actually take that in 1 more. As you can see, the actual space it needs is quite little. It looks like a 2x2 space. Don't want it to glitch out too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those in 1. Right, there we go. That fits in there nicely. It shouldn't be able to move around too much. That's fine. It should not be able to move out of range of the other Rex that it's going to be breeding with. So that's perfect. Awesome. Right, so now let's get rid of these extra bits we don't need. Right, okay, so we now have an area we can take the Rex into. We can close the door behind. It won't move. Let me go. Now, there is a reason that I've actually left this entire gap open rather than just putting a doorway in. And I've also left a little bit of room with the Rexes. I don't want them too tightly packed in. A, I don't want them glitching out of there. And B, I want to be able to easily get inside this space. If I've got a doorway in there, I have to get through a very small space. And if that Rex is going mental trying to move around when it's on wander, yeah, that's going to be a problem. So if I now set that enable wandering, this will be the test. Make sure it can't get out. There you go. She's having a good go at sort of getting away, but she can't. As you can see, she can't get away. That's fine. That's perfect. Right, so let's set her back to disable wandering. Right, and now open this gate, which somehow I've managed to get the wrong way round again. I'm sure I had that round the right way this time. These gates are getting on my nerves when I do this. Right, okay, so now what I need to do is I just need to bring out this set of fence foundations out the same way. and just replicate this area here. So I'm going to need 1, 2, 3, 4 fence foundations, and I'm going to need 20 of these railings. Right, there we go. I've now replicated that. Now, what I could do is if I actually wanted to breed more of the Rexes out, what I could do is just literally take these fence foundations out, another 3 out here, and then I could just sort of do a line across here, and I could put a second doorway on there. So once I get more Rexes that I want to breed out, I'm sorted. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this one back, and I'm going to go and actually get 2 of our Rexes that we are breeding out at the moment. Right, so I've got these 2 over here. These are the 2 that actually gave us the Rex that you saw at the beginning. The male of these 2 has actually got our max stats. This one's just missing one of the stats, I think. So it's perfectly good to breed these 2. So there we go, they're in there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wait for that to close. And then just go behavior, enable wandering. Behavior, enable wandering. There we go. And now, should be good to just let them go at it. As you see, they're unable to get away. Can't glitch themselves out, I don't believe. Right, so, yeah, that works like a dream. That's perfectly good for that. Should be about to drop the egg. There we go. Right, so now I'll just take them off wandering. I will say this, is when you've got a breeding cage like this, try not to leave them on wander, and also try not to get yourself glitched on top of a wall like that. There we go. Because they do tend to, like with the OVs that I showed, they tend to kind of glitch out of it, even if they've got enough space that they're not particularly glitched. They do tend to actually glitch out of the pens when you just go out of render range for them. Right, but there we go. So that's the principle of how you would figure out the size of it. So as you saw, I did with this is I checked how sort of wide they could fit through. Obviously, I know Rexes can't fit through a 1 wide thing. If anything, say like a Carno, you probably would have to have it only 1 wide. Checked how long the length was, make sure that it could actually not move too much in there. And as you see, it worked perfectly fine. So that's the principle of how you'd actually go about building yourself a taming pen, not only for Rexes, but for any sort of creature. Is get yourself a gateway like that you know they can fit through, then figure out what size. Personally, I like using the behemoth gateway most of the time anyway, just because for smaller creatures you would have lots of space. Obviously, if it's a really small creature, if you're on a controller, what I did with the OV pens is obviously an option as well. So I have got that video. I'll throw that up on the description. Right, okay, so now at this point here, that is the actual getting them to breed side of things done. There's a dog outside, I do apologise. What I'm going to have to do now is I'm going to have to go over to my desktop and I'm going to have to show you my spreadsheet. So that's the actual building side of it done. Now it's over to the stats. Okay guys, so I've gone ahead and I've downloaded the spreadsheet for that we actually use to keep track of all of our stats and how we end up sort of getting the good Rexes that we have, or our breeding pair of Rexes. So this is going to look very confusing to start off with. I also want to apologise, there is building works going on outside. Okay, so now this is actually going to be quite confusing to look at, but I just wanted to show you this as an example of how we do our system. And this is a system that we find is really good and useful. What we've got here is we keep track of the ID and the name. Now, the reason we do that is just it makes life easier to name things up with an ID to start off with. But it also means that when you're doing this sort of breed next with column, it's easier to have an ID than to have a load of names. Because at least with the ID, you're going to go, right, okay, so we've got 18, it's very easy to find down here. Whereas you're not going to be naming things alphabetically as you go along. And it's better to have things organized as you go along so you can see the progression of your stats. Okay, now we keep track of gender and we color code that. We do keep track of level, mostly because we want to actually make sure we're getting as high level as we can eventually, so that we can do things like, for example, the Manticore does a topo attack. The higher level a creature is on birth, the more torpidity it can deal with. After that, we also keep we keep track of all of the stats. And as you can see, the max stats at that level when it was born or when it was tamed is that's going to be in green. So anything in green here was the highest number we had for that stat at the time we got that creature. So originally, for example, this was our highest health, 9240.1, and then we tamed a Rex out that had 9900.1. That was an improvement, but we still kept that there just so you can figure out, because the second part of our color coding is this orange here, and this orange means that something is out of the breeding pool. So once a creature is no longer in something that can actually give us a better creature, then we put it in orange, and that's it. It's done. We no longer have to worry about it. But we just like to keep those stats there. You don't have to do this. You might want to just take the color coding off. We just do that just because so we can keep track of how we've actually progressed on things. And so as you can see now you know that. Well, we only have 3 Rexes that are potentially going to be used for breeding. We've got our 2 breeding pairs down here, and we have this one up here. That's got our highest oxygen. Not particularly worried about oxygen at the moment, to be perfectly honest, and I think the level's high enough for us to deal with what we want to do with the bosses. But if we did want to, we know that is the one that's viable to do it. Okay. Now, what you essentially want to be doing when it comes to... well, it's exactly what you want to be doing. I say essentially. Exactly what you want to be doing is you want to get to this situation here. If whatever stats you're breeding out for, you want to have a male and a female that have got those stats, both of them. So you are guaranteed 100% you're always going to get out a baby with those stats, or potentially better with a mutation. Okay, so now I've explained like the color coding that we do. I need to go through the process of getting out these best creatures. Essentially, you are playing a game of chance, and it can sometimes be more beneficial to have like 5 different creatures that have only got 1 good stat than it is to actually have a creature that's got 2 good stats. Now, one of the reasons it took us so many generations to actually get down to here is when you breed 2 creatures together, for each stat, there's a 55% chance that the baby will get the best of the 2 parents. But the problem with that is that when you start trying to combine lots of stats together to get out a better creature, you end up reducing the percentage chance of doing it. Every time you breed creatures together, what you're trying to get is a baby that is better than one of the parents. So to get to this end goal here, that is the basic method to go by, is you're trying to get a baby that has better than one of your parents. And essentially, the reason you're saying you want it to be kind of a duplicate but better of the male or the female, because quite often the gender component does come into it. So, for example, like if you have a male, this male here, and I breed out, say, stats that I breed, I were to be able to breed, say, the 15,300 food into it, that'd be great, but I want to make a male that has that so I can breed it with a female that has, say, for example, the 1974. If I breed out a female that has all of the stats, well, I then need to breed that male back with that female to try and get a male that has the stats. I know that sounds a bit of a clusterfuck, but that is essentially a lot of the problem. Is it's not only getting out the stats you want, it's getting out the gender you want as well. And ideally what you want to be having is a male that is breeding with lots of females that have stats that it doesn't have, but has as many stats that it does have as well. Right, so I'm going to try and put all this into practice here. So what I have got is a load of Dodos, as you can see right here. I have gone out. I went out and just grabbed a load of high-level Dodos, knocked them out and tamed them. So obviously I'm not really going to be using these for anything. Actually, I probably will end up using them to troll people with, but that's not the point. Right, okay, I've named up all the Dodos. Now what I need to do is go and put their stats in the spreadsheet. Right, so I've gone ahead and just put out in the numbers here at the moment. So I just want to show you quickly a couple of things here. Firstly, you're going to notice that when I do this, my header stays in place. Now, the way I did that I'm using Apache Open Office. There's a different way to do it on Google Spreadsheets. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. But all I did was I click on the bottom left, one below it, click freeze. There we go. That now freezes all that up there. Now what I need to do when I did this is I just didn't mean to do that. I grabbed both of these and then it started DD001, DD002. Just did this. Gives us a load of things. Right, okay, a couple of things I need to do just to make this easier. Put that in the middle. Right, okay, let's put all of these numbers middle aligned. There we go. Right, now start doing the color coding. So let's grab all of these here and choose our pink color. Okay, so now I need to start figuring out which one is our highest stat. So health, right, 344.1 is our highest stat. There you go, that'll do. Right, okay, highest stamina, we've got 540. 540 is our highest stamina by the looks of it. We need our highest oxygen, which appears to be 630 on this guy. Highest food is 2484 by the looks of it. Highest weight looks like it's 84. Yep, that's 84. Don't see any others higher. And highest melee, we've got 316.3, 316.3. So, first of all, we can say this male here, no use to us. We can say, right, we do not need to breed him with anything. Go. Cool, right. No use for him at all. So, obviously, the next thing we need to do is we've only got one male here that's viable. So, we breed this male with all of these females. Okay, guys, so I've just gone ahead and hatched those babies. I did actually use a admin command to just, once they hatched, just made them go to full maturity. So the next thing I need to do is I need to go around and I need to put these stats into the spreadsheet. I'm just going to name each of these as I go along. So now at this point here I need to figure out, well, did I get any breeding males that were better? No. Because as you can see, this is our male here. All I'm interested in, I'm not interested in any other stats apart from the green stats. Well, none of the males have got more green traits on them. So there's no point me having them there. And none of them have picked up traits that he didn't originally have. Right, okay, so these can all now be taken out. Okay, so now that I've taken, although we know now that, well, I've got no males in there that have given me anything that is going to make life easier for me to get out of a trait. If potentially I'd got a male that, say, for example, had got maybe one of these traits out, but not so many of the father's traits out, that might have been useful. But unfortunately, these guys, as you can see, they only got one or two traits. And this kind of shows you how hard it is sometimes to get out the traits you want and why you kind of need to go for the lower ones, basically you're trying to get the worst parent to get more traits into it as you go along. Now, this female looks like it might be useful for the breeding pool, but it's not. Because all I'm potentially going to get out of that is a female that has maybe one more trait in it than these, but I'm not actually putting anything else into. It's no better than any of its parents that it potentially had because we're not taking any of the traits out of it. And I just realised as well that this one didn't actually need to be bred as well because, you know, IR to smarts like that. Let's put that on to... No. And so this one here, even though it's got a couple of traits out, it is basically the highest traded female that we've got. It's no use for the purposes of breeding. So what I can do is I can take those out there. So now I'm still stuck in the same position where I've literally only got 4 that need to be bred. Now what I need to do is just to make sure I know what I'm doing. I'm breeding this one with DD001, DD002, and DD004. Right, okay. So now I need to wait for those females to be able to breed again, and I need to do another round of breeding. Now, right, so I had to do another 2 rounds of breeding, and I finally got these 2 out. So it's 2 males here. So let me go over to the spreadsheet. Now you're also going to notice that I've actually taken another one of those original females that we took out. You know, if you spotted that, fair play to you. I didn't realise that there wasn't actually another trait apart from what was already on the males, so there was no point in me doing that one. So I've only been breeding this guy with these 2 at the moment. So as you can see, I've also split out each of the breedings into a different border here, so you can see. So that was the first one we did. That was the second one. Had no good ones out of it. Third one, no, nothing else that was viable for the breeding. But now this is where things are getting interesting because I've got 2 males here Now, one of these males is technically, if we're talking just on the traits side of things, is actually better than our original male. So that's our best breeding male there. And I've also got another male which has pulled out 2 of the traits from that male, but pulled out 1 of the traits from the female. So at this point here, I don't actually want to breed this guy of anything. So let me just do that. There we go. Because now I can play the odds a little bit better. Because I've got a male here that is guaranteed that any baby that I breed with him and her is going to give me that 540 stam. And I'm going to be able to have a much higher chance then of having a baby that has got both the 540 stam and 1 of the stats from the male. So ideally we would get a female out of this. So I'm going to breed this one with DD001. Now this one, once again, this one has got 2 of the traits from the original male there, and it's got 2 of the traits from that female. So we are guaranteed that we're going to get that, and that, and we have a chance of getting these out. So once again, from this, ideally, we would get another female that has 1 of the traits, so either has the health or the melee from that original breeding male. And then what we can do is, any of these that come out the way we want them to, we can breed them with our original male here and potentially breed more stats into them. So I'm going to say that this one here wants to breed with DD018. It's, as you can see, it just makes it easier for me to be able to tell. And this one wants to breed with DD017. Not 0017. There we go. And this one wants to breed with DD004. Right, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and breed those guys together. Right, guys, so that's the next set of breeding stunts. Let me just bring this down here so we can have a see. So as you can see, it does take quite a long time to actually get out the stuff you want. Now, technically, you could do this in far fewer generations than I'm doing it. But this here should tell you, is like this was 3 sets of breedings just to get a couple of traits into things. And, well, a couple of max stats into things. So if you can imagine how low that chance is and how many times you have to breed, if I just kept doing, for example, this one and this one together, eventually I would get one that had the health, the oxygen, the food, the weight, and the melee into it if I did it for long enough. Whereas at the moment now, because I've sort of hedged my bets on this, as you can see, the difference already in the amount of traits that I'm getting out in just 2 of these is, okay, this one was a little bit of a bum dodo here. We didn't really get much out of that. But this one here, okay, of those 2 breedings, we got one where we got a female that was already better than this female. In fact, I can take this female out of the breeding pool now. So let's do that. Okay, and this male can come out of the breeding pool. And yeah, I think we can actually take this male out of the breeding pool as well, because if we were to do this, right, okay, so yeah, so we can take that one out of the breeding pool there, because what I can do is if I breed this one here, 19 with 17, we are guaranteed that we're going to get, oh, don't mean to do that. There we go. We are guaranteed we're going to get that 3 stats in there, and we're only looking at a 55% chance of that. So we're not looking at a 55% chance and a load of other chances. It's just, it's better than the 1 in 2 chance that we're going to actually get out the health from that. And if we get a female out of that, well, we've got a perfect female to breed back with this one, because between them, they're going to have all the stats and they're already going to have a shared stat. And at that point there, whatever they come out with, whatever stats that come out, if it's a male or it's a female, they should be able to breed back with each other. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to breed this one with 19 and breed this one with 17. Right, guys, it worked. I can actually show you this here, because we knew that we were going to get out those 3 stats we wanted. And as you can see, we got a female, we got the health on there. So let's go over to the spreadsheet. Okay, so we now have a male and a female here that have got all of these traits that are in there. And we have got this male here that has got the other 2 traits we want and shares 1 trait with them. So now if I breed these together, as long as I get one of these 2 traits out of it, we're looking at something that's going to be better to breed back with these ones here, whether it's a male or a female. So what I'm obviously going to be doing now is I'm going to be breeding this one here with the one we just got. So there we go, and breed that one with that one. Okay, so I've done another couple of breedings, as you can see by the spreadsheet here. Now, I'm actually going to change things up a little bit because of what I got out of that. So I got a twin pair of females, but they didn't have the stats that I wanted. But I did get a male out from the next breeding. And as you can see, he's got 3 of those traits that we want. And he's got the 3 of those traits from his mother. But he's actually ended up with one of those stats we want to breed into them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to breed him with 21 because that cuts down the chance. We're going to be guaranteed to get those 3 stats out. And the chance that he's going to get those 2 is a lot higher than getting all of these stats and this out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set him with 21. That's 12. Can't do that. Right, okay. And that's with 24. Now what I'm going to do is breed this one with these 2 because it's still got those common stats. It's still got some of these stats in there, which is great. And then I'm going to have 2 chances to potentially get females out that have got one of these 2 stats and have the common stats of these. Okay guys, so after that round of breeding there, as you can see, I have got a male here that is better than my current best male. He's got 5 of the traits that we want. And to be honest, oxygen, not a particularly a worry, to be honest, in most situations, but I'm going for all the traits on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one here out of the breeding, and I'm going to take this one out of the breeding because I only got 2 traits. That would just be a step backwards. So what else can we take out? Well, okay, so we've now got a male that has, not only has it got that 316 there, but it's also got this and those 2 traits that this male has got. Okay, so we can take this one out of the breeding pool. Okay, so now the best thing I think would be to do here is to breed this male with this female because we've got one of the... Oh, don't mean to do that. We've got 1 of the traits, 2 of the traits, 3 of the traits, 4 of the traits they share. And all we're trying to do really is get this trait on there as a female. So we want to get, so basically we want to get a clone of this female that has that trait. And if we have that, we could then breed it with this male, and that would once again be an increased chance. So there'd only be 3 stats we'd be worrying about. So that would decrease the chances of us having a problem. And to be perfectly honest, I think then trying to breed out more stuff with these ones might actually be viable while I'm actually doing this one with this one. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take him out of the breeding pool. And as you can see, as the fact that I'm having to decide this, there is no guaranteed way that you can say you're right with this. I mean, I'm sure there is some statistical analysis that would be the best way to do it, but that's not what you play ARC for. You're just going to try and use logic and common sense here. Right, okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to breed this one with those 2 females up there. So we're going to do 21 and 25, and then we're going to do 26 with 22 and 23. And hopefully what we should then start seeing is we should get a female out that would be good to breed with this male. Right guys, so I've actually got a twin pair of females out of the stats that I wanted, and I've put it all in the spreadsheet already, so one sec. Okay, right now, when I was breeding them out, as you can see, I've done a little bit more than I already had. And now I'm just going to take out, so as you can see, for example, these 2 females here, well, they're the best females we have. And the only thing really that I want to breed into them now is that 630. But I am going to keep this male around, just in case we do get females out of the breeding that actually makes life... that would be good to breed back with him. But at the moment, what I've now got is I've got 2 females that can breed with that male. In fact, let me just take all the ones out of here that we don't need. Okay, that makes life a little bit easier. Right, okay, so now as you can see, we've got with this male here is what I'm going to breed with those 2. So when I breed these together, well, I'm going to be guaranteed to get this out. I'm going to be guaranteed to get this out. And I'm going to be guaranteed to get this out. So now I've only got 3 stats that I'm particularly worried about. Is that I'm going to have weight, oxygen and stamina, and health. At this point, you have the potential, quite likely, to actually get out a baby that is going to have all of the stats that you want. So guys, I just got those 2 babies out. This one's actually decided to go for a bit of a walkabout. Stay there, damn you. Right, okay, so we've got 1 baby that has got, as you can see, 344.1. So this has got all but one of the stats, so obviously we're just missing the 630 for the oxygen. This one all of the stats. So as you can see, that is a lot more of a chance to actually get out the stats we want. And now, actually, if I go over to the spreadsheets real quick. Right, as you can see, we have now got, from that, basically, I mean, essentially that is a breeding pair. I mean, the oxygen is not going to come into a real issue here, but I'm sure if you've watched through to this point in the video, you'll know that there's only there's more than a 1 in 2 chance that we're going to get that oxygen out if I breed out those creatures. So at this point here, all I would need to do is just keep breeding these 2 out until I get that, but essentially I'm going to get 5 out of 6 of my perfect stats there. So everything else in here now can actually go into, okay, you are no longer needed for the breeding. That is a set of dodos that I have taken from that original one here. So as you can see, I've still got all this in here. So that first breeding, we had all of these. Okay, so the first one, we didn't get anything out of them. Second one, still didn't get anything out of them. That was really particularly useful. Third one, still nothing. So that was 3 times I bred with them with all of these stats together that I still didn't get a double female stat or anything like that. Okay, and then I started getting a couple of them out here, as you can see, and then we started breeding them through. And then we, as you can see, that method gradually got them through and through and through. If I had gone for constantly just breeding out, say, opposite ones. So if I just constantly, say for example, I could have just kept breeding these 2 together over and over and over again, and eventually I would have got what I wanted, but it would have taken so long. Absolutely so long. Whereas this way here, what I've done is, okay, it took a long time to get there, and potentially one breeding, bam, I would have had a very good one, still would have had to breed out the stats. Potentially there was a 2% chance of that happening. Whereas what we've done is going through here is we played the odds, and you're almost guaranteed to get what you wanted to get once the odds started getting. Once we started getting better, sorry. So once we got to this point here, it was just it was getting down to the point where we were talking, okay, a 1 in 3 chance, a 1 in 2 chance to actually get what we wanted. And this last one here, okay, actually got really lucky. This was a 16% chance for us to get what we wanted. It's just under 1 in 5, but we had 2 to breed out and end up getting it. We end up getting a female there that has got all the stats. Right, so I know that took a long time to go through that video. I do apologise, but I wanted to actually go through it and show the specific method and just show that this is the way you would do it. It takes a really long time. I am sorry. That's just how it goes with the breeding. You can't do it. It is such a long-term project. So, right, okay, so that is how you breed out the stats. There might be people who explain it better. I hope I've explained it well, and I hope the process by which I went through was very easy to follow, or at least it was followable. I know I have a tendency to babble. But there is one last final thing that I need to do to finish off this video. I need to take my battle dodos into battle. Okay, well actually I'm not going to take these 2 in because I'm going to use them for a mutations thing. But I'm going to take all the other dodos into battle. I think that's a good target. That'll do. Ah. You can take him. You can take him, lads. Woohoo! Oh, shit, I think they might actually kill it. Oh, good God, they're actually going to kill it. I was counting on them killing them all. Oh, good God. Oh, good God. That is glorious. It's going to be a glorious victory. Do you mind not hitting me, Mr. Bronto? Get him, lads. No! Avenge your fallen brethren. You get back to work. I may have miscalculated the odds. Okay, I think this is the last one. The last solitary hero. You watch. This is going to be an epic battle to the death. Aye, that Carno's cheating. He is determined to kill that farmer. Wow. that Dodo is having that Carno. He gave as good as he got though. Get for killing my Dodos. Right guys, so I hope you found the video useful. Well, obviously apart from the end there, though that does prove that, you know, Dodo armies not a thing. I hope it did explain the process of breeding out stats, and you could see a way to keep track of it and figure out exactly what you need to do if it's been confusing for you. I hope you found the breeding pens or how to breed things efficiently on PC or obviously with controller. I hope you found that useful. Yeah, have fun guys. I hope you managed to breed yourself out some awesome creatures. Catch you all soon, and I'm going to do a mutations one as soon as possible. Bye.